As long as I've been on the internet, there's been some rivalries that I've seen. I've seen the dress, which I will not back down from. It is still gold. How baguettes would move. Okay. And the great Pokemon debate. What is this Pokemon debate? If you know Lions vs. the Sun, it's very similar to that one. Lions vs. Pokemon takes an arbitrary amount of lions, and it faces them up against one of every single Pokemon. And they fight to see who would win. So for my statistics project, I wanted to see what people thought about the lion debate. So let's go through the questions and finally solve this age-old debate. So first off, we have some basic data entry questions to see who took the survey. In it, we have 4 grade levels and 1 for people who are out of school, because I'm inclusive. Next is the age question. I put this in so I can see what people of any given age would do. Third is how much time you spend online per day. This is probably the most important question, besides the lion question, inside the entire survey. I'm saying this because the question has been asked online before, and you could probably draw a very rough line between how much time you spend online and the outcome of the lion question. Thanks, Ludwig. Also, to keep the numbers in line, any ranges were just averaged out to make it easier. Next was if they played video games and what consoles they had, if any. I wasn't expecting to see anything special here, and for the most part, I didn't. For the penultimate question, I just asked if people knew it. Not if they played it, not if they've enjoyed it, just if they've heard of it. And obviously, we now have the final question. Who would win? 1 billion lions, or one of every single Pokemon? Now, I'm not here to discuss the
That's of National Socialism, dude. At least it's an ethos.
Yeah. Sorry. I'm not here to discuss which side is right or wrong. I'm just here to show what the majority of people think. So, with the questions out of the way, let's get on to... There's actually one more question, but it doesn't really matter to the rest of the survey. For the data, if you haven't noticed, I've been using Google Forms to compile it all. This is just so I can make it easier to get it all together for accounting. It also makes a bunch of these neat little graphs that I'm probably throwing up on screen right now, so it's really helpful in that regard. For each question, I'm going to throw up a graph, and then I'm going to explain what that data means. For the grade levels, all the categories were filled with at least one person. The majority was from sophomores, with seniors not in school, juniors, and freshmen following, in that order. Though it was not my intention to have that little freshman in the survey, the people who were out of school made up for the data and really just helped balance it out. For age, it was a very distinctive graph. A majority of the people were from the 15 to 16 range, which resulted in a right-skewed curve. The highest age was 31, with 16 people being over the age of 18. How much time do you spend online was super interesting because we had a definitive pick, though there was a major outlier of 16, which made me think somebody went and just smashed something on their computer. Another explanation may be the fact that people saw their screen on time and they thought that that was how much time they spent online, which would artificially inflate the data. The last few questions are basically yes or no. Instead of having multiple categories, these only have 2 sides of each question. The only one that bars this formula is the one that asks which systems people play on. It'd be very hard for people to choose between 2 or 3 different things, so I made it an open-ended question. For the video game question, a majority of 42 people said they did play video games and 26 said they didn't. Basically in line with what I thought. For consoles, I curated the top 7 choices: Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo, PC, mobile, VR, and nothing. And the data shows 9 for Xbox, 10 for PlayStation, 18 for Nintendo, 23 for PC, 1 for VR, 4 for mobile, and 29 for nothing. This is pretty much in line with what I imagined, so this isn't too off the rails. The next question was if people knew of Pokemon as a franchise. The outcome of this question actually translates very similarly to the battle question. The 82% of people who responded that they knew of Pokemon was just about right because of how big Pokemon is as a franchise. Finally, we have the question about the lions versus the Pokemon, which, as I've said before, is surprisingly in line with the amount of people that know of Pokemon. That's because the people who know Pokemon know that Pokemon are just better! Unfortunately, it was not what I predicted was going to happen. I thought it was going to be a 50-50 split, because we took a survey about a week ago, and I got that. With 79.4% of people saying that Pokemon would win, leaving 19.6. That's wrong. 20.6. Hey Google, what's 100 minus 79.4? It's a bit slow.
100 minus 79.4 is 20.6.
20.6. Before we do get to the conclusion, I want to go through one person's survey just to see what they thought.
All right,
Alright, so we got this survey pulled up here right now. We're gonna go to the person who I want to show y'all. Not 211. What grade are they? They're a senior. 17. How many hours do you spend online a day? Roughly 8. I just rounded this to regular 8 because roughly is the new regular. Do you play video games? No. What I'm about to show you is a tell. If so, what system? They don't have any. Are you familiar with the Pokemon franchise? Yes, as most of you are. If you chose no, you're wrong, or you press no on the survey. And then here, who would win, Billion Lions or every Pokemon? Somebody who's familiar with the franchise chose that Billion Lions would win over one of every single Pokemon, even though for unexplained circumstances, that would most probably be wrong.
As I said before, this data is very interesting because it deviated from the original smaller survey quite a lot. If I could have done anything differently for this, I would have made the questions a bit more detailed just so people wouldn't get as confused as much. Most people did provide me with some very useful data, so I'm not complaining too much. And the lion question did surprise me with 79.4%. And the question that directly followed the battle question had that perfect 50-50 that I was looking for. Kind of. It doesn't really matter, just like most things in life. One piece of data that I definitely should have added was asking if people played Pokemon and not if they just knew of it. But other than that, I feel like the survey was pretty good. Now that I'm done with the Billion Lions, what do people think of a trillion?
Hello, Gordon. Nothing ventured, nothing gained. Look, Gordon, strokes. We can use them for big hits. Hello, Gordon. Nothing ventured, nothing gained. I'm getting full, Gordon. We can use them for my clone. Hello, Gordon. Nothing ventured, nothing gained. Look, Gordon, strokes. We can use them for big hits. Hello, Gordon.